Hey, this is Mike from 424recording.com. In today's video, let's talk double-tracked vocals. Well, so what you just saw there was me double-tracking my vocal intro. I was trying to say them the exact same way each time in order to illustrate the technique that we're going to be talking about today, and that's double-tracking your vocals. Chances are, if you're into music, you've come across any number of albums where the vocalist double-tracks their vocals. This happens in modern pop music all the time, but also in a lot of indie records. The Sea and Cake comes to mind, Nirvana comes to mind, and of course, the inspiration for this video, Elliott Smith, also comes to mind. Why would you want to double track your vocals? Well, there's something about it that just makes it sit really well in the mix. Also, I find it almost impossible to sing exactly the same each time, although that's the goal, and it often creates like an amazing chorus effect that just thickens up your vocal. I know that Butch Vig, when recording Nirvana's seminal album Nevermind, basically stated that Kurt Cobain was the most amazing individual at double tracking his vocals. I pointed this out to my friend Sean. They're so well done on that album, he didn't even realize that the vocals were double tracked. I think that's part of the magic of the vocal sound on that album. You gotta think about your voice sort of as an instrument. It's like tuning a guitar. When you think about it that way, it becomes easier to try to sing the same exact way each time, because after all, your voice is just another instrument, but albeit a harder one to harness or a harder one to perfect. Because a guitar you can just tune up with a tuner and, you know, record one pass and then record the next pass, and unless you messed up really badly, it's gonna sound pretty great. But that's the same idea behind double tracking your vocals. Early Elliott Smith stuff is done on a 4-track, and I want to get more in-depth on that in a future video and maybe do some sort of review or just talk about some of the early albums on Kill Rock Stars. And I think on some of those records that his voice is maybe even like quadrupled. But I think that's also the magic of doubling your voice, is that if you do it right, or if it's done really well, it can sound like there's more than just two vocals or more than just a doubled vocal. And I think on some of the Elliott Smith stuff, it almost sounds like he double tracked his vocal on each side of the stereo spectrum, meaning that there's two voices on the right, two voices on the left, and then so 4 in total surrounding you as you're listening. But obviously Elliott Smith is also just amazing at being able to double his vocal, which is definitely a skill and one that you have to practice a lot in order to get right. Double tracking my vocal always made it sound better, but it was also a way to hide behind my poor vocal performances, because another thing with double tracking your vocal is that each vocal kind of blends together or covers up the mistakes, because it's kind of like harmonics when you're tuning a guitar. Because if one is more on key and one is a little off key, they sort of will blend together, or the one that's on key will kind of pull the other one into key, and the one that's off key will sort of pull the one on key a little off, so then they'll meet in the middle and it'll sound great, you know. And I've heard of techniques that Elliott Smith used to do or did on some of those records that I think it had to do with the pitch wheel, and he would intentionally play things like, I don't know, maybe like a half step up, or sing them like a half step up or something, so that when the pitch came back, it gave it like a really unique quality, because, you know, having the pitch wheel up or tuning the guitar up a half step or playing something a little higher, but then once it's bounced back in the pitch wheel, it just gives it like a really interesting and unique quality. I think it's important when you're double tracking your vocals to really pay attention to how your mouth is moving, or maybe even looking in a mirror could help you do this as you're singing. And also obviously breathing and where you breathe. Let's take a look at what a setup would look like if you were to double track your vocal onto a 4-track. So basically what I would do would be obviously have 2 tracks open. I would do the first pass of the first one, and then very shortly after I would do the second pass of the second take. The further that you spread out the takes, the less likely of a chance there is for them to be doubled really well. But that's also just my own preference when doubling my vocals, and you know, your mileage may vary. Maybe you could record one in the morning, and then at night you could record the second one, and it would be perfect. But I know personally myself, and just with temperature changes and being warmed up or not being warmed up, your vocals can change drastically from hour to hour or 5 minutes to 5 minutes. And also just your mental state as well. You could be in the zone the first couple times, not really thinking about what you're saying or how you're singing it, but it's just usually the first couple takes are the best takes, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But so basically I would just find a mic that you like, be warmed up, do your first take, or you can practice phrases in Logic and, you know, practice your song and singing the parts, and it's basically tuning your voice like a guitar and making your voice repetitive or the same as if you would tune a guitar. And moving your mouth the same way, or paying attention to your mouth movements, or paying attention to the attitude you have while you're singing, or the notes that you're obviously singing, the key that you're singing in, whatever, because obviously you can sing phrases differently. But that's basically the basic technique then, is once you have your song practiced to a point where you can double track it pretty well, find a mic you like, get comfortable, have a good vibe to wherever you're recording, record the first take, and then for me, what I like to do is close my eyes, pan the first take all the way to the left. I don't know, for some reason I just like hearing my first take in my left ear. Make that pretty loud and almost louder than the take I'm doing now. So almost as if I'm trying to say or sing the first take as it's happening, and that's like mono in the center. And that's just my technique for doing it. Maybe you like to have them both split, maybe you like to have yours on the right, maybe you like to have them both dead center. For me, I don't know, there's something about having on the left that I just really enjoy with the first take, and then when I go to double it, center. The second take, I put the volume down lower and blast the first take. But explore for yourself what works best for you. Another interesting tip for double tracking your vocals is do them while playing your instrument. And maybe your instrument doesn't even need to be amplified. Maybe you're just doing acoustic. That can also be really interesting, to play a song with an acoustic and singing as the first track, and then the second track you do that exactly the same again, or you just do that again and see how it sounds. That can sound pretty cool, because then you have the guitars having that phasing or having that chorusing effect going on, and you also have your vocals having that chorusing effect going on. I think if done right, or if you can play your song like almost identically each time, that could have a really cool effect. I hope this helped give you an idea of double tracking vocals, how to use them, and some tips on how to record them, or how I go about recording them. Find out what works best for you. There's no rules. Well, Godspeed, my friend. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you nerd. I'm gonna go looking through my CDs for that first Elliott Smith album. Seems like a good time of year to crank some Elliott Smith, so I hope you do too, or check out some of those early albums. I think you'll really be able to hear that technique in action. And don't forget to check out Nevermind too. Peace.